So today we're going to talk about what was my favorite board game when I was a kid. I used to play with my brother and sisters all the time, Monopoly. And as you may guess, I always wanted to be the top hat. Monopoly. Well, let's first of all, before we talk about Monopoly, let's quickly review what's going on in perfect competition. So in perfect competition, we have many buyers and many sellers, and start out using black. Many buyers and many sellers, and we have a market that's going to have supply and demand, and where supply and demand meet, we're going to have an equilibrium price, and of course an equilibrium quantity for the market. But what we really care about is for our firm. So this is the market, and this is for the firm. The firm only sees the price that is in the market, and it can then choose the quantity that it wants to produce, right? But the firm in perfect competition has no control over the price. It is a price taker, meaning there's nothing that the firm itself can do to influence the price, and so the firm is going to choose the quantity that it's going to produce in order to maximize profit. And of course, it's going to choose that quantity based on where the marginal cost hits the price. Remember, the price is, in effect, the firm's demand curve, is the firm's marginal revenue curve, is actually also the firm's average revenue curve, because as the quantity changes along this price, the average revenue, the marginal revenue does not change. The firm just gets the price. And so if the firm is lucky enough that its average total cost is below the price, it can make a profit. But we assume that in equilibrium that's not going to be true. If the firm is making a profit, there'll be entry that will shift the supply curve to the right. It'll increase the quantity in the market, but decrease the quantity for the firm, and the price will fall to just that point where the average total cost just hits that. The minimum average total cost, of course, is where average total cost hits marginal cost, and will be at that price. So the economic profit will go to zero, and that this is the long-term equilibrium in perfect competition. Zero economic profits for each of the firms, and this is considered efficient because each firm is producing at the minimum average total cost for that firm. Because I need an eraser. So now we're going to talk about Monopoly. Monopoly has only one firm. The industry is the firm. And so we don't have an industry chart and a firm chart. We just have the one chart, which is both the industry and the firm. And that firm is known as the monopolist. Spelled correctly. And so the firm sees the entire demand curve. And of course, the demand curve is downward sloping. And so we're now going to have a distinction between the price, which of course is going to be along the demand curve. The firm will always price along the demand curve, and its marginal revenue. When the demand curve for the firm was perfectly elastic, when it was a horizontal line, didn't change based on quantity, the price was the marginal revenue. But for a monopolist, the marginal revenue curve is actually going to be below the demand curve. And this isn't hard to understand. Let's sort of neaten things up here a bit. All of this is going to be up there at zero. They're going to meet. This is the marginal revenue curve. This, of course, is quantity. This is going to be all of our dollar-denominated items. Where if the quantity, well, the price was 11, the quantity sold would be 0. And so, of course, the total revenue would be 0 because the price times the quantity would be 0. And if the firm, say, dropped the price to, say, to 9, they could sell 2 items. The total revenue would be 18. And then the marginal revenue would be 18 minus 0, that's change in total revenue, divided by 2, because, of course, our quantity, divided by 2, because our quantity is 2, so the marginal revenue would be 9. And let's say if we drop the price to 7, we could sell 4 items. So the total revenue for 7 would be 28. And so the marginal revenue, 28 minus 18 is 10. And again, our change in quantity is 2. So this would be 5. And let's say we drop the price to 5, and we could sell 6 items. That total revenue would be 30. 30 minus 28 is 2, and again our quantities changed by 2, so the marginal revenue would be 1. And if we were to drop the price to 3, we could sell 8 items. That would be a total revenue of 24. Our marginal revenue would then be negative 3. And notice the marginal revenue curve can easily get below 0, even when we're still in a positive price. So our total revenue at, say, the price 3 would, of course, be positive. At price 3, we would sell 8 items. Our total revenue would be 24, but our marginal revenue for that, we're going from 5 to 3, would be negative. So the total revenue is falling, although still positive, obviously, because prices are always positive. We don't really think about negative prices at least in this course. So we have a marginal revenue curve that is below the demand curve, and of course the monopolist is going to choose a quantity to produce in order to maximize profit, right? Firms want to maximize profits. The monopolist is a firm, and a firm doesn't really control the price. The firm is facing this demand curve. So for any given price, it's going to be able to sell a certain amount. But what the firm then chooses is the quantity. The firm is going to choose the quantity to produce in order to maximize profit, just like in perfect competition. The difference is, no matter what quantity the firm in perfect competition chose to produce, the price would be the same. If it chose to produce 1 item, it would face a particular price. If it chose to produce 1,000 items, this price would be the same. For the monopolist, that is not true. Whatever quantity it chooses, it will then price off the demand curve. But which quantity it chooses will then determine the price. And so if the firm chose to produce 2 items, the price would be 9. If the firm chose to produce 6 items, the price would be 5. Whatever, it will choose the quantity, and then it will set the price off the demand curve. So how's the firm going to choose the quantity? It's going to choose the quantity using that basic principle that we've been discussing now for several weeks, where marginal benefit equals marginal cost. And so for the firm, marginal benefit is marginal revenue, and for cost, we're going to have marginal cost. So I haven't drawn a marginal cost curve on here, but let's assume there's some sort of marginal cost here. So marginal cost, the firm is going to choose the quantity where marginal cost equals marginal revenue, and this will be the quantity that the monopolist would choose. And then we'll go up to the demand curve to find the price. So the price that the monopolist is going to choose, and this would be for the monopolist, would be up here. And then we would have to know average total cost in order to figure out what the profit would be. Now recognize that in the book, there have been a number of examples where we've assumed 0 fixed costs and constant marginal cost. Well, if that's true, if we have a situation of constant marginal cost and 0 fixed costs, that this in effect then becomes average total cost. It's marginal cost and average total cost would be the same curve. In this situation, obviously, I'm showing increasing marginal cost, so there's something going on in terms of average total cost. I'll draw that in green, just as sort of an assumption as to what's going on here. We've probably got something going on like this, and so this is average total cost. Oops, that wouldn't be right. Why wouldn't that be right? That wouldn't be right because average total cost has got to intersect marginal cost at minimum average total cost. So let's redraw this. Glad you were paying attention to let me know of my mistake. Put average total cost. We could actually, the minimum might be out here somewhere. So we'll do this. And as I said, the minimum average total cost will intersect marginal cost. And so we've set our price. We will go down to average total cost to find the profit. And so the profit for this monopolist would be here. So this is the profit. and it will be the maximum profit that the firm could produce. Now, the efficient point from a total economic theory perspective would be out here, where marginal cost its price, and so the price, of course, would be right there, and the quantity produced would be here. Now, this would not be a realistic outcome, even in a competitive situation, because this price is below average total cost, and so this firm would be operating at a loss. Now, that certainly could happen in the short run, but in the long run, this situation would not last for long. But so the principle is this: we look at marginal revenue, where marginal revenue hits marginal cost. We find the quantity. This is the quantity that the monopolist would produce. We go up the demand curve to find the price, and then we go down to the average total cost curve, and the difference between the price and the average total cost times the quantity is the profit. And often we'll be in a situation where the average total cost curve would be below where marginal cost hits price. And then we can talk about a competitive situation, which would be where the price or the demand curve hits marginal cost, that this would be the competitive outcome. But in a competitive market, what would happen is the price would be at marginal cost.